feels like.
Robin, I didn't tell you that I ask my guests to just make up a chartless theme song on the spot. So go ahead, just sing us something.
Well, da-da, da-da, da. It's Chartless with Melissa Mulligan, the best person ever.
Thanks for the percussion.
I'm not exactly sure what you were looking for, but that was my best shot.
That's what I wanted. That's literally
Excellent.
what I wanted. No notes.
I used to have I'm in the process of moving right now, but I usually have a million instruments in this closet. So I wish I'd had like my auto harp, that would have really elevated the experience, but alas.
I feel like you look like you would know some of that terminology.
Like kind of old English.
Yeah, like Renaissance speak.
I do often speak that way. Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, that was a just question," or, "'Tis I," or something. So that is absolutely not out of the question for me.
My goodness. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Chartless. 'Tis I, Melissa Mulligan, here with the amazing, illustrious, super talented, very kind Robin Tucker. Robin, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is exciting. We have a lot to talk about, so we're going to get to it. The first thing that I want to start with is Grammys. Come on.
Grammys.
Let's go. Let's get into it. Now, all right. Full transparency here. We're not talking about Robin Tucker getting like a Grammy nomination yet. However, I mean, when I met you a year and a half ago, did you think, oh yeah, in a year and a half, I'm going to be a featured artist on a Grammy nominated album? First question. Second question, did you and I think that it would be with our mutual friend, Cheryl B. Engelhardt, who introduced us at her retreat? I mean, what a cool full circle moment is this?
It is. You know what's so funny too is my answer to those questions is kind of because, well, to answer the second question first, if I was going to be featured on a Grammy nominated project, my immediate first response would be, it's probably Cheryl's project. Because, I have been a part of her life since 2020. So I've been there for 3 or 4 album cycles of her trying to get a New Age Grammy nomination. I wrote on one of the records, like my voice is there. And then the next year she actually got a nomination, which was so great, but I wasn't on that project. And she was on my second album. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's so, so cool to be on this project. I'm always honored when friends or mentors or people I look up to think I have anything, being a part of their project. And especially with this record, it was so many women were writing on it and mixing and mastering behind the scenes. So I was just really honored to be asked to, step into that space.
I feel like it is it's pretty much the mastermind, like my music career mastermind way of life that I always talk about is like, stay in it, stay in close contact with the people that you respect and the people that you're building these relationships with. Like, be great to work with, be a prime contributor, but also, and I know we'll get into this in a bit, continue to show up on social media, not so that strangers bump up the algorithm for you, but so that the people in your life know what you're doing, know what you're up to, and see you out there, like continuing to contribute to your craft. So I know that that's an indirect influencer on this particular success story for you. But when I zoom out and look at the way you live your life and the way that you manage your career, I know that it's a part of it. because you do it very holistically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. I certainly try. Yeah, I think I am always of the opinion that if you feel a connection with someone and you're like, that person has a lot to teach me, or I want to, just be around that person's energy, do what you can to stay around that person. Like I started out interning for Cheryl in 2020 and then I was working for her for a couple of years and now we're really good friends and so I've always sought to keep her in my life. And I feel that way about you too because you're y'all are cut from very similar cloth in terms of both your music industry brilliance and also just your energy and character.
Tell us about the record and your participation. And I know that you're an awesome producer in your own right, so I'm sure you were using all your skills on this because you did this collaboration remotely with them, right? Like, fill us
I
in.
did.
Tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I was walking around my block, got a call from Cheryl. She's like, "Hey, do you want to do some vocals on this song on our record?" I was like, "Is the sky blue?" And so I was like, "Yeah, send it over." And originally she just said her collaborator on this record, Jem, amazing Australian artist, DJ, composer. She was like, "I just want you to double Jem's already recorded vocals an octave down." I was like, "Great." Did three passes, so we have some doubles in there. Um, and thank God, honestly, for your program, because Jem is a really excellent vocalist and can do all kinds of runs and things like that that are not usually in my repertoire. So I had learned about the plugin Vocaline through you and your program, and so I was like using her lead vocal as a guide to make sure that mine were like really nice and aligned before I sent it over. Because I think it's really important to you know, over deliver as much as you can, like tune your vocals, time align your vocals, do everything you can so that your collaborators have to do the least work possible to fit you into their project. Um, and then because I'm me and because, Cheryl and I just have a relationship, I'm like, I'm gonna record a bunch of extra stuff and send with the caveat written to her that she can throw all of it in the trash and use just as little of my stuff as she wants. So I did some harmonies and some weird chanting and just a made up language I came up with, and some humming, things like that, that ended up making it into the project. So that was the process, and it's a beautiful record according to the Moon. Nominated for New Age Ambient or Chant album. Heck yeah.
It is a beautiful album.
It's a
It really
lovely record.
it
Yeah.
is stunning. It is stunning. I know you think I'm biased, but I think the track you're on is my favorite track. Um,
Thank you.
it is such a beautiful record though. It really is like it does impact your nervous system,
Hmm.
and sort of feel like my cells are rearranging when I listen to it. It really is awesome. I think that, you know, one key takeaway from this story, because I can't help but teach, whenever I talk about music, it's like a compulsion that I have. But I think the key takeaway here is, so many people would hear a story like yours and say, see, it's all about who you know. And it's like, well, Cheryl knows thousands upon thousands of musicians, So it's not really about who you know, it's about who you're known to be and what skills you are known to have. The fact that you are known now to be someone who can record great vocals, edit great vocals, sing well, compose well, and be reliable enough and tech savvy enough to turn these things around lickety split, take notes well. If like you're a pro, right? You're known to be a pro in this field. I hope you know that. But that's the name of the game. A lot of people are so concerned about, well, how do I get in front of people? How do I get to know people? I'm like, well, that's relatively easy. It really is. You can just DM anybody today. But it's more about like, well, but who are you known to be and what is it that you can offer that other people can't? And I think that's
Absolutely.
a huge part of
And
this.
I would even add to that, getting in front of people is great, but I have found the most fruitful thing is to get behind people
Oh,
because and I think this is such a great example of being lifted up later by people that you have been supporting for a long time. You know, Cheryl and I have worked together for a number of years, and um, I like to think I've been a valuable addition to her life and cheering her on and supporting her and, getting in the trenches with her, especially in relation to the Grammy stuff. And obviously, you don't do that out of a self-serving capacity. You want to see people win, but I just have kind of noticed that the people that you support, if they're good people, tend to support you back.
mm, clip. We just made a clip. Well, so when we met a year and a half ago, we met at Cheryl's retreat for career musicians. It was amazing, right? Like totally
So
life
good.
changing. And you were on staff. And then I don't, did you approach me? Had I met you in what, like an online thing with her before then?
We had never met online, but I had been in the room when you did a guest masterclass with her membership, coaching people on singing. And I was so taken with you because my background vocally was, I had teachers who were opera singers, even, in like pop music school. um, and I was so drawn to your teaching style, and I was like, that woman knows what she is talking about, because there are so many phony voice teachers out there. um, I'm sure you have encountered many of them. So it's always so refreshing to meet someone who, like, A, really knows their stuff, B, is such an effective communicator, and C, just has this like energy. And I was like, I need to speak with that woman. And then you were at the retreat, and I was like, I'm not gonna talk to her because I'm here in like a staff capacity. I want her to have her experience, but then I was like, I can't help talking to her. I'm gonna say hi.
And then that's when I think we started talking about Berkeley. Like you are a Berkeley grad, and I've worked with so many Berkeley grads. I mean, I work with people before they go, while they're there, and then afterwards for sure. Um, but how recently had you graduated at that point when I met
It
you?
had been about a year.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
almost a
sense.
year.
Yeah, so you experience that like that you think it's going to feel like you're a raindrop in a bucket and you feel like you're a raindrop in an ocean,
Hmm.
in all the oceans connected.
All the oceans of the world.
Yes. And I do remember like doing a call with you after that and really being surprised at, I mean, I can say it now because I know you well, but I was shocked at your lack of confidence. Shocked. I was like, I do not understand this. You know, you're so talented. I'm glad that I put my foot down and said, we are going to do more production mentorship because you need to stop, right? You would like all these songs that were held up by like having to work with other people and needing to pay and like the typical stopgap that happens for artists who don't feel comfortable in Logic Pro or Ableton or whatever they're using. That's changed a bit for you now, I'm hoping.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I've been, producing in DAWs and stuff since I was a teenager. And I produced my first two projects, but for some reason I always had it in my head that there was something I was missing that stopped me from being like a producer. I decided, oh, I can make a really good demo. But I'm missing the secret sauce, the insider knowledge that, other people who really want to be producers have. I guess I kind of had it in my head that like you had to be a producer if you were going to be a producer, and you had to be an artist if you were an artist.
I was just
And
thinking that. That's like a big mythology in our industry still, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
I remember you said to me, you were like, I think we can get you producing your own stuff in 6 to 8 weeks. And I was like, fat chance. But you did. There was so much I loved about Berkeley. I'm so glad I went. Really, so much excellence there. I was not impressed with the production department and the way we were taught music production. I had hired a couple of classmates at certain points to work on projects and ended up having to hire other people. So I would say maybe one of Berklee's weakest points is its production program. And I really did not feel confident as a producer. So going through your program, I was like, it's so simple the way that you and Skip explain everything. I was like, why wasn't I taught this style?
You know, in defense of all music production programs in colleges, the shortest way to get somebody to be an awesome producer is to help them figure out how to get what's in their head to come out of their speakers. And period. And you can only do that if you are on their system, on their setup, working on their material with them, which is ironically why when we mentor students online, it works better. It works better because if it's in person, like you're coming to somebody's studio and you're looking over their shoulder at their fancy equipment, you go home and you don't have that. And you have just a different operating system on your laptop or something and you're screwed. It just doesn't translate. And also, I think part of what I love about like the mentorship piece is like you being able to say, "Hey Skip, how come, the drums on this Dua Lipa track like sound amazing and mine sound like BBs rattling around inside of tuna fish cans? Like why? Why does it sound so bad?" And Skip can say, "Oh, because that's actually a loop from Splice. I have it. Do you want it?" Like that just cut the learning curve by months for you, right? Or they're stacking drums. Let me show you how to do it. And you should probably get Easy Drummer, and here's why, right? But also, Skip might say to you, "Is that really like that's your reference track for this?" You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I could help you do exactly what you're asking for, but Robin, let me question you a little bit. Let me push back creatively. This feels like a departure from where you said you wanted to go inside of your artist identity. Are you changing course? If so, good. Let's talk about it. But are you just sort of getting confused and sidetracked because you love this song and now you're like not staying true to where you said you wanted to go to begin with? And I think that's a great part of like holistically integrating artist development with songwriting, with music production, which is why, I do it the way I do it. I think it's important to not just be like, here's how to do things.
I couldn't agree more. Have you ever heard people talk about how when you get older, you kind of fall back in love with like things you like to do as a child, or you realize that, when you were 10, like you had the whole picture. You knew what made you feel good and what activities you like to do and stuff like that. So you almost kind of fall back in love with childhood as an adult. I kind of feel that way about music making now. Like really a lot of the work we did in your program was not additive. It was like subtractive EQ. It was a lot of stripping away of people I had listened to who told me, you need to be making super commercial 2 minute, 30-second with a strong TikTok hook songs. Or me thinking my tracks had to sound a certain way, whatever. And what I've noticed is the way I write songs now is more like the way I wrote songs when I was a kid. I had it for some reason that like piano needed to be gone from my music, but I think piano is maybe my strongest asset as a musician. So bringing it back in.
I do remember being like, tell me again why we're pretending you don't play piano.
No, literally, where are the 11 years of classical piano training? They're not necessary anymore. Because I was like, oh, I want to make pop songs and dance around on stage. And you were like, great, you can do that. Also, you have this wealth of musical training and deep thoughts to share and stuff like that. And you made a really good point that has stuck with me, which is if you really have to lead if you're trying to break in with what you do that no one else is doing because or as close to that, I mean nothing's like totally original, but um
You need to reinvent notes in
you
music.
need to reinvent notes, make music different. But if people want the Spotify playlist commercial pop, they're going to go to the people who are doing that already and who are established. And it's a
Yes.
lot easier to make that kind of music at like a very high level, where you have like a lot of label support or money behind you. Because that type of music, I think, really has to sound so bulletproof to really feel like that, Hot 100 pop music. But doing weird and unique and interesting things is a lot easier, weirdly, I think, at least for me, from a producing and music making capacity. So I remind myself of that all the time that if people want more of the same, they'll go to the people who are doing that really well. What
It's
can you
not
bring to the
even,
table?
I don't even know that it's a matter of people who are doing it really well. It's just more passive music fans are just consuming stuff that's already famous by people who are already famous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Whereas people aren't going to be like, oh, I found this unheard of artist, Robin Tucker, who makes music that sounds exactly like my favorite famous people. I like it. You know what I mean? They're just going to be like, it's not going to register because they're
Hmm.
just, in love with their famous people. The fans of an undiscovered artist are music fans who prefer undiscovered artists. Like that's really what it all comes down to. It's no longer the old days of like, yep, got to give us a radio hit.
Absolutely. And like what is a radio hit anymore
Right? What's radio?
anyway?
What is What was
What
radio?
is radio?
What was radio like? It was horrible.
I must admit I still play CDs in my car. But I'm
Ooh.
probably in the minority in that sense.
How's
But
your car holding up? Your car still has a CD
my
player.
car is great. I got my car from my grandfather who bought it in 2011 and drove it to the grocery store and only to the grocery store for like 8 years and then decided he was done driving. So it had like
Oh,
10,000 miles on it and it was in great shape. I was like, thank you.
oh, I
But it does
love
still have
it.
a CD player.
I love that so much. Oh my goodness. Um, I really want to talk a little bit with you about maybe something like a little bit more sensitive, which is, um, well, I won't put words in your mouth. You know what I'm about to bring up. Let's go there.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about social media and your experience, kind of going viral in a way that a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people don't talk about this. It's a real risk, so let's talk about it.
Let's do it. Where do you want me to start?
What happened?
What happened? Okay. I'm gonna super quickly backtrack and say that I think the best decisions you make in life and the worst decisions you make in life can both come from listening to other people. And in my case, I had my last year of college, I had several very influential teachers in my life like breathing down my neck saying like, Robin, you have to make very commercial pop music. Robin, you have to use short form platforms and post a million times a day and go viral. This is the only way to have the kind of career you want. Because I was very honest about, I want to be very successful and have a lot of people listen to my music. So I was kind of pushed in that direction. And then out of college, I was working in social media doing stuff like that. So I was like, oh, this is great. I know how the algorithm works and I know how to trigger virality, at least in theory. So I had put together this EP of what I thought was like, these are solid pop songs, very social media friendly. And I'll kind of hook them with this. So I started putting that out, posting 3 times a day, 3 to 5 times a day. Sometimes posting like
Five
eight
times a
times a day.
day, people. Three to
A
five times
day.
a day.
I mean, it's impossible to have a life when you're posting 3 to 5 to 8 times a day. Crazy. But I thought, this is what you need to do. And my stuff started picking up. I was going from like 1,000 views to 5,000 to 10,000 to 50,000 to 100,000. And eventually I had some videos that ended up with 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views. So I was getting hundreds, thousands of, comments calling me every homophobic slur you can think of. I was getting death threats in my DMs, people telling me I should go kill myself. Um, and honestly, the most destructive comments were just the people who like called my music cringy or bad. I was like, you can tell me to shoot myself in the face, but do not question my songwriting. um, and that was really rough. And it's really disappointing that this rhetoric is pushed so much to artists that the way to have a flourishing career is to chop up your soul into 15-second vertical videos. And that, you know, in order to be a successful musician, you need to have 70 to 80% of your time be spent on creating content. I hate the word content now. God, content. Oh. And then, whatever's left, make some music and feel creatively fulfilled.
Sure. And also, as because we talk about this in our classes all the time, is it doesn't translate, like having more eyeballs on your videos doesn't translate into people actually coming to shows or you being able to contact them, or even if they're streaming your music on Spotify, you can't reach out to them directly and sell them merch or tickets to your shows or invite them to come to a live stream or whatever. You know what I mean? So even if it's working out in all of the best ways possible, it's still not really working, still not really changing artists' lives and careers and financial situations in any way.
And, if I'm being really honest about that project, and I kind of hesitate to say this, but like, I don't think that some of the people who were hating on it were entirely incorrect. Not because it wasn't, I'll say it, I'm a good songwriter, they're good pop songs. But I think people are really, really good at sniffing out authenticity and the lack thereof. And that was a very happy project that I was releasing at a time where I was not doing so good. And it was kind of this last ditch attempt to try and grab a hold of something, insert myself into life and the world in a certain way. And it wasn't what was happening in my life. And I think that people could kind of see that. And that's why I got called like cringe and inauthentic and stuff a bunch. It requires a lot of self-love to be able to say, all that horrible stuff that happened. Like maybe there was a tiny little point in there.
Yeah, and I wish that people were like took some personal responsibility for the way they gave market feedback.
Yeah,
But I do understand what you're saying in that whatever way the feedback was delivered, you're looking at it and going, well, I can understand maybe why that didn't land. I saw you do this big sort of overhaul internally first, I think, really kind of getting brave and saying, okay, I'm gonna almost like if this means I'm niching down for now, it means I'm niching down, but I'm going to get really deliberate, really authentic, kind of reinvent things.
but you know what I find so funny about music is like music is the only business where we get pushed the rhetoric that in order to succeed in the market, you need to make copies of what is already successful in the market. When I feel like in every other avenue of business, like the key to success is to disrupt the market.
So
Um,
who is pushing that rhetoric? Because I push the you need to be a disruptor. You need to be an innovator. Like it's just logical. It's the truth in this industry. You need to be an innovator. And every great artist is. So where is that rhetoric coming from, do you think? Because it's definitely out there.
for sure. without definitively saying, I can say where it came from for me, which I think it trickles down from labels who, especially now, are less inclined to invest in artist development or to put money into products that there's more unsureness of whether that product is going to do well. They would rather invest in proven concepts, and the proven concept is the TikTok song right now. Despite what I think they want us to believe, are not as stable or as influential as they once were.
Oh, they're not.
I mean, if you just look at like the rate of layoffs at major labels, like they are scrambling a little bit to try and keep their profit margin as wide as they can. And I think that brings a certain unwillingness to invest in projects that are not as potentially like shelf stable or appealing as the stuff that they know will be listened to, even if it won't be engaged with.
Well, yes, but I don't think it's stuff that they know will be listened to. It's stuff that's already successful that they will invest in.
Yes,
They're
this
not they're
is
not
true.
taking they're not finding unknowns. They're not
No.
scrubbing TikTok for people with 1,000 followers or even 10,000 followers who sound just like Taylor Swift. And where I think that rhetoric of we'll just do a lot of pop hooks on TikTok, where that advice is coming from, I think a lot of it probably is what you're hearing in terms of pushback. Like if you were to reach out to a label, they'd be like, "Get your numbers up. I don't know what to tell you." But like, it's not their job to know how to get you there.
Hmm.
It's not their job. It's their job to know what to do with someone who's already gotten there. Therefore, the advice is a little hollow and incomplete. You know what I mean? Like originally, social media numbers were a somewhat meaningful metric for the industry because social media numbers would be the result of you being a success. I remember not that long ago talking to a lawyer about an artist, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they have a lot going on, but like, if they're doing great at their shows, why aren't I seeing more streams on Spotify?" Right? So it was just like one more metric. Then here's what the artists hear when they get that pushback. The artists hear, I guess they only care about numbers. Like, no, they don't only care about numbers. It was like a metric. Like, we are looking at everything and we want there to be no question marks. Your live show, your ticket sales, like, your vision, and you should be figuring out how to get results, right? But artists said, "Oh, got it. All you care about are numbers. I guess we'll forego everything else and just put everything into the numbers." And then it's like everybody got confused because the pandemic happened and nobody could tour and it all became about digital stuff. But it's coming back around where instead of it going, "Oh, if your live shows are so great, how come you don't have streams?" Now what we're hearing is, "You have all these streams, but like five people come to a hometown show." Like we still need the whole full complete picture at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for making that distinction. Because that is true. Labels are only interested in investing in already proven concepts. And I think about how strong that rhetoric is because I was not just kind of floating through the world like, someone tell me what kind of artist to be because I have no vision or direction for myself. So,
Yeah.
like, the fact that that message was strong enough to override what I had, already been doing, is honestly kind of alarming. And the fact that I felt the need to like hold myself back and only present this kind of bubbly pop self, is distressing because if I fell for that, I don't think I'm a super gullible person. How many other amazing artists with things to say and all that stuff are falling for I need to be writing TikTok songs. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with writing a TikTok song. I love a TikTok song.
Right.
Pop is great.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. But just going back to what I really remember from your program, you have to lead with what you do best. Um, I think it's not that you can't. This is what I said to myself. It's not that I can't make pop music. Like I totally can, but just like don't erase yourself to fit a formula. And I'll just say too, like I've so changed now from like I just want to be like a pop star, like I want to write deep songs and also like, fun songs. But you really helped me tap into layers of myself that I had accessed before, but then had kind of paved over because it's like, oh, no one is actually interested in the depth and the wisdom and the, piano skills and stuff. What I really hope for every artist is that they can become really actualized and embodied and anchored versions of themselves.
Yes.
Because I think when you know yourself at a deep level, you know what your offerings are, you know what your music sounds like, you know what your visual identity, branding, live show, you know what that looks like. This is not something that lives outside of you. This is something that comes from within you.
Yes.
And I think we're so in our heads all the time thinking about, oh, but are my brand colors good? Like, do I have a 15-second hook for my song? That we forget that the artistry is already inside of us. We don't need to live up here. We can fully settle into our body and our artistic identity. And that is the font from which everything flows.
100%. 100%. That is such a beautiful and sage sentiment. And we are also interested in your wisdom and your depth and the beautiful music that you make and everything that you have to say and your awesome piano skills. I am going to put in the show notes where everyone can connect with the one and only Robin Tucker and where everyone can listen to your contribution, but also the beautiful, beautiful Grammy-nominated album "According to the Moon" by Cheryl B. Engelhardt and Jem. So this will be a According to the Moon focused month here on Chartless. Robin, thank you so much. Let's go talk again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the so needed service that you are providing to artists and creatives, which is helping us get back in touch with things that we had decided were not attractive or marketable, profitable, whatever. Like you said, in an age where artist development is kind of left to the artist to do, we need guides and mentors. And I'm so glad that we cross paths because you've been a really big part of helping me come into my wholeness as an artist and not just to try and have a slice of the pie, but to really breathe in the whole space. I feel like I'm on the Wicked press tour. Ariana, hold my finger. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin. Love you very much. Thank you all. Thanks for listening to Chartlist. My name's Melissa Mulligan. To get in touch, please visit mastermindroad.com and find me in all of the places and all of the spaces, TikTok and Instagram. I'm Music Career Mastermind. Love you all. Bye. Thank you again for listening to Chartless. My name is Melissa Mulligan. I am a vocal coach and artist development expert here in the recording industry, and I also run my favorite passion project of all, which is a music career roadmapping coaching collective called Music Career Mastermind. Please reach out if you want to connect directly. You can find me at mastermindroad.com. Mastermind, ROAD, like a roadmap.com. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.
I wanna know what's going on. Is this what it felt like when Lucifer fell from heaven?